Thanks a lot. So before I just introduce you, I would like to start off with thanking Ruchi ma'am and the entire team behind India Flying Labs, Care Robotics, and all the other organizations who have come forward to make this international conference happen. So I really appreciate Ruchi ma'am's efforts in putting together all of these speakers and getting the students from all across the globe to empower the youth, as well as to talk about what's happening in every part of this drone industry, right? There are so many parts, there's so much for us, for all of us to learn. So thanks a lot, ma'am, and thanks a lot for giving us the opportunity to showcase and share all the knowledge that we have. So I have taken up this topic, which is drones in youth empowerment, right? Drones is the buzzword currently, and the youth empowerment is something that we are focusing towards. But the more that I focused towards this presentation, the more that I understood that the title could be changed a little bit, right? By switching two words. Instead of drones being used to empower the youth, which is definitely needed, I think that the youth is needed to empower drones. So both of them have to go hand in hand. And I personally liked youth playing a vital role in the empowerment of drones as a drone ecosystem in a whole, right? So that being the topic, I would like to just sorry. Okay. So I would like to tell you, we can start off with the three whys, right? So why should the three questions actually? The first one is why. Why should it matter that we are talking about drones and we are talking about the youth, and why should we have to think about empowering them? What, right? So what is the plan of action? What do we have to do to empower the youth and help the drone ecosystem across the entire globe? And how do we do it? How do we go about the entire thing? So before we go ahead, actually, there was, okay, not available. Okay, doesn't matter. So with that being said, I would like to just give a small introduction about who I am and what we do. So my name is Devesh, and I was a hobby pilot. As you can see, there are some drones in the back. We build them, we fly racing drones. The way that we fly them is by wearing goggles, and we see what the drone is seeing in real time, and then using a controller of this sort, we are able to control it. So we don't have to have a line of sight with the drone, but then we wear goggles. It's quite cool. It's a very exhilarating and out-of-body kind of experience. There's a lot of drone races that's been happening where the drones, multiple drones, around 6 pilots fly 6 drones at around 100, 150 kilometers an hour, around 100 miles an hour. So that's extremely fast. So eventually we got on to FlyCamp, which is the brand that we started off. And that is with the mission to harness the youth in the drone industry, right? To empower and harness the drone engineers. So we've been able to train a lot of students, give them hands-on workshops of how to build and fly racing drones, because racing drones are much more fun and raw, and the power that you see and the sounds that you hear are purely amazing. So we took it up a notch ahead, where we started to set up some drone labs, wherein we are able to conduct research and help the students to conduct research so that they are able to learn and understand the details of the drone ecosystem, right? So that is what we do at FlyCamp. And so this topic pretty much is very relevant to what we do. Also, one fun fact, FlyCamp is currently a 100% student-run team, although I am not a student anymore, my team is 100% student. So that tells a lot about how much I personally believe in the youth, and that I'm taking a bet saying that the youth, we as students, a bunch of 20-year-olds, with the proper guidance and the support, we are able to go and compete with maybe not the best player in the market, but at least we are in the game. Right? It's not about winning and losing. It's about, are you in the game? Are you doing something? Are you having an impact? And that is what we are. And I am believing, and we are able to prove that a bunch of 20-year-olds are able to compete in this particular game. So let's dive into it, and let's talk about why is it even necessary, right? The big why, and start with the why and everything. So why drones? The first thing is because it's got such high commercial potential. We've got a lot of speakers coming in and talking about various applications, right? Recently, as you know, we sent a drone to Mars, right? It's not anymore that drones are confined to Earth. It's going to multiple planets right now. So the potential of drones is insane. We can't even imagine where all they will be used currently. So we know, like, around, I would say, like 10 to 12, 15 applications: agriculture, surveillance, delivery, mining, surveying, mapping, all of that. Those are the basic ones. And we tend to believe that they are the 40 to 50% of the applications that we actually know. The remaining of them we haven't even thought about. There are universities in Switzerland and MIT where drones are building structures, they are building bridges, like completely autonomous drones. Drones are being able to give a bottle of water in a house to a handicapped or an old person. It's able to navigate inside and out. So the level of technology is increasing, and the number of possibilities in which all applications we are able to implement them are increasing every day. So the next thing is, it's a completely multidisciplinary domain. An engineer doesn't, it's not only an engineer's game. If you think about it, an artist, a musician can buy a drone, and he can learn how to fly a drone and make a side income. He can click photos, he can make a lot of nice videos, but he doesn't have to be an engineer. He just needs to be a pilot, right? So the drone industry as well, like now with the drone laws coming into picture, a lot of lawyers are coming into the game as well. So we do believe that it's a multidisciplinary domain. No matter what domain you're in, I feel there's always a part where you can be involved in. Maybe not the complete research of how to make a camera or a motor. That is too sciencey, scientific. It's for the researchers and the inventors, but there is a part for everyone, right? Drones, no matter your age, no matter your profession, you can still be a part of this. So that's the best thing about drones. And the best thing is they are awesome, right? Hands down, they are the most coolest technologies that's there. Anything that's flying in the sky, we're like, oh wow, that's something cool. And something flying close to us, not aeroplanes and spaceship. Of course, they are cool, no doubt about it. But when they come closer to us and we see them with all these potential of spraying and like delivering some medicines and like taking some cool videos and everything, that's very cool. So drones are awesome. So we like to have a lot of fun while we are training and when we are researching. So drones is one of those industries that provides us that fun as well as a purpose, right? So you shouldn't do anything that's not fun, but you shouldn't do something that's not impactful or purposeful as well. So I felt the team as well believes that this is something that there's like that work-life balance. More than work-life balance, is about what you like to do and it's fun to do, right? So if that makes sense. So the next why is, why the youth? Why should we even talk about the youth, right? The biggest reason is that the Gen Z and the alphas who are born after around, I think, 2010 onwards, are born around technology. As soon as they are born, a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old, you know that they know how to scroll through YouTube and skip ads. And that's, nobody taught them, but they learned it all by themselves. And that's very fascinating to see that these kind of children are born with an intuition of how to work with technology, right? So we and the older generations, we saw, we were born without any technology, but slowly we saw how technology came into our lives and how it started transforming our everyday lives. But for the Gen Z and Alpha, it's a completely new game for them, the 21st century. They are also, one extremely important point is that because we believe in climate change, global warming is something that we all have to think about. And I feel that the youth, the current youth, are the ones who all the pressure will be on them to influence the tipping point. There is a tipping point for climate change. And I feel that is, the youth are supposed to be aware about what's happening and how to use technology to benefit earthlings, right? So that's extremely important. The other point with Gen Z I would like to say is that they are very purpose driven these days. They're not going to do if they don't like to do. Maybe it's because of social media, it's because of anything else, right? Maybe they're just wired in such a way that I could call myself, although I'm a millennial, I do vibe and I understand a lot of children because I deal with a lot of students on my day-to-day basis. So it's really, we want to find something that's exciting, that has a purpose, and it makes sense to us. We are not gonna, and we've been able to question a lot of things. Why should we do this? Why, just why, right? If it doesn't make sense, we are not going to believe it. Stay hands down. So that is why we need the youth, the big why. And why should we empower the youth or help drones as an ecosystem? It's purely just for a sustainable future, right? So it's to make life better, life easy, increase the quality of life, and all of that. It's the bigger picture, right? So what should we do? It's not what can we do, what everything. There are some things that we should do. And the first thing that we should do is to be able to train. We need to educate the youth, right? Being able to tell them what all technologies are out there, how to implement them, giving them the mentorship of our experience, and basically just to be able to educate them, because that's step number one. Without being able to educate the students or to train them, you can't go to the second step, which is research. Research helps you to come out of the box. A lot of ideas come in, right? So what do you do? How can you take this drone and can you take this sensor and you can combine them and create a new application, right? That happens only, you can connect the dots. You will be able to connect the dots only if you know what the dots are, right? The dots are the knowledge. Striking the lines between the dots is called research, right? So making all the dots, the lines, and making it into an entire picture is called the development. Like I could call it a product or a service, right? We've got to enable the students and the youth and anyone who wants to come into the drone ecosystem. And this can be done in a variety of ways, by incubation, by supporting them through grants, because capital is one of the biggest problems that startups face, right? So being able to help the students and the youth to be able to come out with ideas, to nurture their ideas, and to help them to develop their prototypes and get them into the market, that's extremely important. So I feel this part is what the millennials or the Gen X, the ones behind me, I think the boomers is what they call, I'm not very sure. So that is what they should look into. What should they do to help us, the youth? All right. So the last part would be, how do we do it? Right. So now it comes to the youth, the students, the me, the you, all the kids around here who want to do something in drones or in life. Right. So how do we do it? We have to change the education system from being teacher centric to coming to student centric, understanding each student's capabilities, interests, pace of learning, and making education quite entertaining. And that happens through STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Being able to combine all of them. Of course, I think there's one more, which is design or arts. Being creative, the creative part comes through that aspect. Being able to come out with STEM or STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, I think. So being able to come out with an education system and being a part of that is extremely important. Also, it's not only for the engineering students, right? We have to be able to start off at a very young age. So maths, science has started maybe in 3rd grade, 4th grade. So we need to be able to start even drones and STEM-based learning about the fundamental concepts of physics and chemistry and math at school, right? So it's not that it's only at school or only at college or only at university, but we have to be able to provide that consistent level of STEM-based or STEAM-based education to all age groups. So that I feel is extremely important. For us personally, there was no schools with STEM or there was no universities of that sort. But the starting for STEM-based education, I personally believe was Google and YouTube. If you're curious to learn something, you can just go to YouTube and search it and you can learn about it. That is being student-centric. It's not about you've got to study this, so study it. Not anymore, right? So Google, YouTube, Facebook, it changed that game. So we as the youth need to understand how to take advantage of that, not to be influenced by it, because we know what kind of suggestions we get as soon as we go to YouTube, right? Watch this video, watch that video, watch some prank, watch some random memes. No, but can you use it in a much more beneficial way? So I started drones 5-6 years ago in 2015. And people ask me how did I go about it? And till date, it is Google. Google and YouTube helped me. Like it's everything that I wanted to know, I Googled it and I learned it. So it was much more focused towards what I wanted to learn, right? So it's more personalized to everyone's interests and learning speeds and everything. So I feel make use of these technologies that's available to you and be conscious about how to thing. I think it took I could see how to cut. I learned how to use a cutter and how to make those designs and everything. So it helps you a lot. So we need to be able to foster innovation. The first point is by doing a lot of micro projects. And this is again wherein we need to be able to come out with drone labs, a place where we can foster innovation, right? So that is personally what FlyCamp has just started to do this coming year, where we are going to universities and trying to set up research drone labs so that the students, and we are mentoring the students as to selection of the project, brainstorming, and then coming out with the project proposal and selecting the components and building the prototype, and also development and implementation. So why I say it's R&D, definitely research and development. You research on some concept and you develop it. But we feel that there's one more step, which is the I, which is implementation. You cannot just build a product and keep it on the shelf. You've got to build a product, you research, you build a product, and you've got to test it. That testing, no matter if it's not for business, it's just go to your friends and show it. If you've got a neighbor, go and show it to them. See, this is what I'm thinking, and get some feedback from them. If you can get from the actual people who are going to potentially use it, right? If it is a farmer or a fireman, right? So just go and show it to him and demonstrate, because he'll give his inputs, and dude, you're gonna start working more towards it. You feel a little liable saying, okay, I've gotten some feedback. Can I make it? Can I do some improvement? And that is how you do it. Be better at what you just did, right? So constant improvement. Start other projects. So we've got to be able to foster innovation through drone labs. Thinking about it, it's going to be a very fun space of where a lot of cool things are going to happen, right? And I think the last one is by conducting events, right? That especially attract the youth. For all those students who don't know what a drone race is, I would definitely urge you to go ahead and YouTube drone race, right? Drone Racing League is a company that does just amazing races. There's another concept of a drone swarm. Intel has been flying like 3,000 drones and creating like images, 3D images in the sky. So we need to be able to attract the youth, because if you don't attract the youth, then they're not going to be interested in doing any kind of development or training or research. A lot of the students, I wouldn't say students, although they are being aware about what's happening. I feel the older generations need to be more aware, like the parents. So this is why I say this is because as we go to a lot of schools, I would say like 100, I would say, okay, 90% of the students are excited and interested in coming to our drone workshop. But once they go home, they talk to their parents and then they tell, Ma, drone workshop, I want to take part in this. And they say, no, why? Why do you want to? Do you want to go and become a wedding photographer? Because that's actually the response that we have gotten. Why do we have to train our students on drones? So will they become a photographer? We don't want him to become a photographer, because all that they can think about when we say the word drone is the white color DJI Phantom flying at events and taking pictures and videos. That is it. So I feel we should be able to change that perspective of the parents and talk to them and make them more aware about the potential of these drones. Right. So these kind of events, as we are right now, the international conference, it's amazing events, from the small scale events to extremely large scale events, from webinars to seminars to hackathons to just meetups to expos. I'm pretty sure a lot of different countries have various types of expos where drone companies come and they showcase their products. So India is also coming forward with it. A lot of events are coming this year and the next year. So we are super excited, because that's a place where we all can network. Even the students can come in and they know that, oh, this company is cooler than that company. I would like to be a part of that company. Can I apply? Can I talk to someone? Network, right? So that's extremely important. So being able to conduct different sorts of events, right, is extremely important of how we would be able to empower the youth. So it's a very different way of how we even think about how we should empower the youth. It's not the regular thing saying the regular way that we've been able to empower them by giving a leadership talk and by motivating them. I feel motivation doesn't work these days, because the Gen Z and stuff like that, it's there what they like. If they have that feeling, they're going to do it. So we've got to think differently, right? The millennials and the boomers, we've got to think differently of how we can use technology, how we should understand the youth, and how to go about that to make life much more sustainable. So with that being said, this is the short talk that I wanted to give in this presentation, and voila, I feel this is a recipe for a sustainable future. With drones, drones are amazing, and I hope you learned something. As a closing statement, I would like to say that for any student who's out there thinking of starting, just start, right? Don't think about it. I think the best way to start is by just YouTubing it. I'm a very video-based person, so I love YouTubes. So YouTube also helps you to attract, like drones are cool. You see them and you see you hear the sounds, and it's very interactive in a certain way. So I would suggest that you start Googling and researching more about drones, because the more that you keep doing that, the more interested you become. The more interested you become, the more somehow the opportunities come your way, right? You also put some effort in, like talking to people or applying for a firm or maybe starting your own company, and things just fall into place. But nothing of this will happen if you don't have the interest. So we're not forcing you to start only drones. Drones is life, and no, but trust me, life is awesome in drones, right? So that being said, I hope you all have learned something clicked in your mind. Even if it was one point that I said, I'm really grateful and happy for that. So anyone who's looking at starting or at any level of drones, and if you would just need to have a chat, definitely hit me up. I love talking and brainstorming, because we talk a lot. We have a bunch of team members and we just love to talk about the future. Like, there's going to be so many drones, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. So don't feel shy, or you can just hit me up and we can take it forward in any way possible. So thanks a lot for everyone who's here, and for the talk of drones in youth empowerment or youth in drone empowerment. Either way, vice versa. So thanks a lot. And yeah, that would be the end of my presentation. So yes.
You haven't just inspired youth, you are also inspiring older people like us. I think
okay.
in this room would agree with me that this was a super amazing presentation. I never saw drone racing the way you see it. For me, it's
okay.
a fun thing, it's like, why do we even race? So you gave me a great perspective to even get into this line of activities and get it into the whole kit. Thank you so much, Devesh.
Yeah.
Super amazing presentation once again.
Thank you. Yeah, so now I just realized that, yeah, we have this slogan, sky is our playground. We have this to because when we go to schools and colleges, we need to be able to make it more fun, right? So when you say playground, it's automatically quite fun. So it is a playground for us, because we go between trees, we go between inside cars, and we go between buildings. We do a lot of stuff with these kind of drones. Also, like, if you can see the size of that versus the size of this, right? It's just as small as my palm. It's very cute. So drones come in different sizes, different shape, different functionalities, and trust me, they're awesome. So yeah. So yeah, it is a playground for all of us. So it keeps us fun and young. Yeah. So I see there is Naren, the great perspective.
As of now, appreciating whatever you do, and there are no questions, but then maybe one question could be about safety. So what are those? How do you ensure, or how do you convince parents that whatever we are doing is completely safe for kids?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one extremely big problem, because the motors, they spin at high RPMs and it's quite open. So the best thing is that we use these smaller drones, which is much more easier to convince students and the teachers, saying it's safe because it's got propeller guards all around it. And this particular drone is called the DJI Tello EDU version. It has one extremely awesome feature. One is it's easy to fly, but the second one is it has a crash detection system, meaning that as soon as it thinks that it's hit something, the first thing that it's going to do is switch off the motors. So there's no damage to maybe the drone or to anyone. So if you go to our website, which is flycamp.org, you'll see like a bunch of students just so excited, and all that excitement is because they crashed. When they're flying, they're happy, but when they crash, they're super excited, because they don't see drones crashing, right? They don't experience that. So it's an extremely important, it's a fun experience. But yeah, so the one thing that we have been able to focus currently is how do we take concepts of this and how do we translate into something like this? because one of the biggest feedback that we got was we were making the students build one of this, but then later after building, we made them fly this. So they were like, no, sir, I want to fly this. But we knew that this is extremely dangerous. And so now after getting a number of feedback about the same thing, we have now come out with our first custom design drone, which has all the features of this, but with this functionality. So just having proper guards kind of is the first part of it, as well as knowing how to control it. A lot of kids, especially, they get a drone, or they buy a drone, or they get it as a gift, and they don't know how to fly it, and they just go. And that, of course, I'm pretty sure so many I've spoken to a lot of mothers wherein they've told that the students just came and the drone went into their hair and it was all tangled up. So that happens because you don't know how to fly a drone. Being able to get that first initial training and then telling them, dude, don't be irresponsible, giving them the safety guidelines is some basic introduction to training. If you are able to give it to them, I feel that definitely helps a lot in the safety aspect of it, right? Even the parents are convinced, and yeah, so that is it. Thanks a lot.
I have a lot of kids around me, so that's like the first concern of all of us, of course, safety for our kids before the
safety.
Fun. Great.
Yeah,
thank you so much, Devesh, for being a part of this conference. And we can
thank you, ma'am.